of course, the newspapers. And I want to start off with the Daily Graphic weekend special, as they call it. Big front page story, Abraham Edusei, 82, is national best farmer. Story from Alberto Mario Noretti, who is based in Ho. By the way, the celebrations took place at the Ho Sports Stadium, if I'm not mistaken, but it took place, yes, in the Volta region, Ho to be specific. And at that ceremony, to commemorate National Farmers Day, the 41st edition, Abraham Edusei was crowned National Best Farmer. Big congratulations to him. Still on the front page, Speaker MPs unanimously agree to abolish OSP. Story on page 24 of the Daily Graphic Weekend Special. Also here, 2026 World Cup, Ghana to face England, Croatia, and Panama. Charlie, the matter chop hot, because right now the calculations are happening in Saka versus Gideon Mensah and many other interesting pairings. We'll see how that goes. Moving on to the Daily Guide newspaper, scrap office of the special prosecutor. That's coming in from the Majority. The photograph of Mahama Yariga accompanying the story. Also here they have the National Farmers Day story. 82-year-old wins ultimate prize. Comes with a photograph of President Mahama, His Excellency, giving the award to Opening Abraham Kweku Edusei, who was adjudged overall national best farmer. And interesting photograph with our great minister in there, and also the political advisor to the vice president, also in there as well. Moving on, HIV status, ignorance deadly. That's coming from ICASA director. Also on the front page of the Daily Guide newspaper, Ghana is peaceful, not defenseless. That's coming in from President John Mahama after he handed over some fleets of armored vehicles to the Ghana Police Service. In then the photograph, the IGP Christian Tete Yohono, as well as the Interior Minister Muntaka Mubarak. Moving on to the Spectator, in a party called to the Bar of England. Also here, award schemes on merit or for sale. Interesting editorial on page 3 of the Spectator. Kwesi P announces support for children with brain tumor. Now, Kwesi P is a veteran Ghanaian musician. And on the back page, encouraging signs for Black Queens. Also here, Karela United can upset Hearts in Tamale. Some Ghana Premier League stories there. And finally, with the newspapers, the Mirror is reporting that court issues bench warrant for arrest of suspected sheep thief. Story on page 3. Also here, Beauty Adobo receives award for overcoming challenges to raise physically challenged child. And also tied in love for success, a couple's love story is featured on the Mirror newspaper. On the back spread, or the back page, 5 clubs in tight race as GPL with 13 promises fierce battles. And these are some of the big headline stories. I'll move on very quickly to citynewsroom.com. And big story here, Ghanaian company to sign all exploration agreement with Guyana. And that's the Ghanaian-owned company or firm is Cybele Energy Limited. Also here, Nalerigu Gambaga MP, 60 million for Falcon 6X could retool police. 3 dead, 6 injured in Pando as the Ave crash, I beg your pardon. There's an interesting editorial on everything you need to know about the 2026 World Cup. And like I mentioned to you earlier, as reported by some of the newspapers, England, Croatia, and Panama are going to face the Black Stars in the group stages of the 2026 FIFA World Cup. Moving on, Lightwave threatens International Court of Arbitration over the LHIMS contract dispute. 82-year-old Openye Edusei crowned 2025 overall best farmer. 9.5% of food inflation signals success of government interventions. That's coming from His Excellency President John Mahama. Talk about further. He says Ghana must tackle declining crop performance to boost value addition. 2 dead, 13 injured in devastating Enyinam and Nyiresi crash. Timor Boy, who's a tax analyst, is also in the news. He says Ghana must deepen domestic revenue mobilization post IMF. The Vice President, Her Excellency Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman, says Ghana to boost domestic HIV/AIDS response, cut reliance on foreign supply. And these are some of the big stories on citynewsroom.com. Moving on to Channel One News, they also have the story on the national best farmer Abraham Edusei, but they lead with Baku. Embrace Otunfo's proposal, Nuruddin urges factions. They also have the story on the Ghana World Cup group for the 2026 edition of the Mundial. Farming not for village folks alone, Mahama to workers. Keep your cattle off the streets. Asokore Mampon Assembly to herders. Eric Opoku is in the news. He says government agric policies affecting homes. That's the agric minister, Eric Opoku. Moving on to some other news stories. Hypertension, extra salt on tables at chop bars to be banned in Kumasi. And that's coming in from the mayor of the city. In Obuasi, illegal miners threaten farmlands, water resources, or water sources, the MCE has been warning. Establish carrot processing factory in Mampon. Mampon Hema to government. Suhum, Kwehu, other mortuaries closed over poor standards. We'll be bringing you excerpts of that story as well. And Mahama pledges single-digit interest rates to boost food production. Moving on to some other stories here. Government to establish African Intelligence Training Center in Hohoi. And finally here, resource agric department or programs will fail. That's coming in from the Zabzugu agric officer to government. Now, let me take you to graphiconline.com. Some of the big online stories here. Asamoah, they lead with the 2026 FIFA World Cup draw. We know Asamoah was at the set draw and was engaged by foreign press, and Graphic Online had a reaction from Ghana's football legend in the aftermath of the World Cup draw. And also here, they have stories from the 41st National Farmers' Day celebration, where they say President Mahama pushes for professionals to take up farming. The Interior Minister is in the news. He says, stop now or we'll track you. Interior Ministers warns online fear mongers. 4 helicopters and presidential jet contract agreement approved by Parliament. Now, this is big because we know that, conversations around the procurement of a new presidential jet became topical. The minority in Parliament raised some few concerns and also the majority, as well. But from what we are being told, the green light has been given for the states to go ahead to procure some new military aircraft, one of which will be dedicated to the presidency to carry the president from one place to the other. So we'll be following that story also keenly. Speaker MPs unanimously agree to abolish office of the special prosecutor. I'll end with the newscenter.com. Now, the newscenter.com is run by the editor, Elvis, who is on Breakfast Daily every Monday morning with Nana to 4 to review the big stories here. Now, they also lead with the 41st National Day Farmers Celebration. They also have the story on the World Cup draw. They have the story of the police being given, new modern armored vehicle by the president. And also here, what they have differently is Parliament approves Ghana-Qatar labor deal, and royalty surge to 291.87 million in 9 months of 2025. We can't keep allocating huge sums to OSP without results. That's coming in from the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Sumana, Kingsford, Bagben. Unpaid fees, Ghanaian PhD students in UK petition Prime Minister Starmer, and Parliament okays deals for 4 new presidential of 4 new helicopters and a presidential jet. And we just start off with the Daily Graphic Weekend Special as they capture the story on the 41st National Independence Day celebration. So excerpts read, an 82-year-old farmer from the Kwehu Afram Plains South District, Abraham Kweku Odusai, was yesterday honored as the 2025 overall National Best Farmer at the National Farmers' Day celebration in Ho. The father of 20, who has been in farming for the past 44 years, owns a 1,800-acre cocoa farm, a 193-acre mango farm, 30-acre rubber farm, and a 200-acre cashew farm, and a 159-acre rice farm, and a 600-acre maize farm. The octogenarian, who also has a 55-acre plantain farm, a 60-acre teak farm, and a 15-acre cocoyam farm, and a 30-acre tomato farm. Opening Eduse further cultivates okra, garden egg, green pepper, cowpea, granite, hot pepper, ginger, and cabbage, in addition to rearing poultry, cattle, sheep, goats, pigs, ducks, guinea fowls, other local birds, and has a fish pond. Incredible, right? So, 1,800 acre cocoa farm, 193-acre mango farm, 30-acre rubber farm, 200-acre cashew farm, 159-acre rice farm, 600-acre maize farm, 55-acre plantain farm, 60-acre teak farm, 15-acre cocoyam farm, and 30-acre tomato farm. And that's not all. He farms granite, hot pepper, ginger, cabbage, in addition to rearing poultry. And not only just live birds, but there are goats, there are sheep, there are pigs, there are ducks, and there are guinea fowls. Incredible. And he has a fish pond. Absolutely well deserved. For his prize, he took home a check for 1.2 million Ghana cedis, a brand new tractor, and other agricultural equipment. A farmer in the Greater Accra region, Osumunu Kadri, who emerged first runner-up, was presented with a tractor, a check of 200,000 Ghana cedis, and the story continues on page 5, and assorted agricultural equipment. A farmer in Banda in the Oti region, Charles Jato, emerged second runner-up for 2025. He received a brand new tractor donated by Stanbic Bank. Now, this is the president's excerpt of the president's speech at the ceremony. The 41st Farmers' Day, held on the theme Feed Ghana, Eat Ghana, Secure the Futures, was graced by President John Mahama, who reaffirmed the government's commitments to ensuring an all-year food production, saying greater efforts would be committed to irrigation expansion, not only in locations by water bodies, but in areas where water could be tapped from underground for that purpose. President Mahama renewed his call on Ghanaians to take up farming, even if they were already working. And this is quote, "With farming, you can still do another job. So we expect our teachers, nurses, doctors, and other professionals to go into farming as well," he said. President John Mahama said that the necessary steps were going on to provide a ready market for farm produce to curb the annual ritual of post-harvest losses. He said the success of the national development efforts depended on the availability of quality foods for the populace, stressing that a nourished nation was a stronger nation. President Mahama further gave an assurance that government would support farmers to obtain credit at the right interest rate for their farming enterprises. He urged local universities to produce new varieties of seeds to boost crop yields on the farm. And the story goes on and on and on. Now let me take you to page 24 of the Daily Graphic Weekend Special. Big story. Speaker MPs unanimously agree to abolish the office of the Special Prosecutor. Now, this particular conversation will be delved in further on the big issue with Solomon Adonu, so you don't want to miss out on it at exactly 9 a.m. when the show ends. Page 24 is where that story is. Speaker MPs unanimously agreed to abolish OSP. Now, story by Nana Konedo Ajiman, who reports from Parliament. The Speaker of Parliament, Alban Sumana Kingsford Bagbin, and members of Parliament have unanimously agreed to recommend the abolition of the office of the Special Prosecutor. They said that since its establishment 8 years ago, Parliament had approved huge budgets for the OSP, yet it had failed to show any achievement in terms of fighting corruption. They were of the strong conviction that if the Attorney General's department was adequately resourced, it would be equipped to curb corruption and prosecute corrupt government and public officials. They therefore proposed the need for a private member's bill to be initiated or the executive sponsoring a bill for the House to work on for the possible scrap of the OSP. Why the agreement? Now the story goes on to say the House agreed to the scrapping of the OSP after the Majority Leader Mahama Yariga informed the House about the arrest and detention of a private legal practitioner, Martin Kpebu, last Thursday. He said Mr. Kpebu had publicly criticized the manner in which the Special Prosecutor, Kisi Ejaben, was going about performing his functions. He said Mr. Kpebu was invited, and at the entrance to the OSP, he sought to address the media, which was objected to by the security detail at the office, with some altercation ensuing between Mr. Kpebu and the security responsible for the building that housed the OSP. The OSP, Kisi Ejaben, ordered that he should be detained. He said it took the intervention of many Ghanaians on social media, as well as calls to the special prosecutor demanding the release of the legal practitioner. So, Mr. Speaker, lawyer Martin Kpebu was subsequently released last night, but it raises fundamental issues about the very existence of that office, he said. The story goes on to say, weaponizing powers, supporting the call for the SP to appear before the House. The minority MP for Ofuase Ayiribi, Kojo Opon Nkrumah, said he would have wished that the business committee had properly programmed the invitation for the special prosecutor so it would have been part of the earlier conversations, he said in quotes. Describing the concerns of the majority chief whip as an important matter, he said the matter was not entirely about the office of the special prosecutor. He said it was about the culture that had crept into the investigative and law enforcement bodies in the country, and that's about weaponizing their powers. So we'll see how this story unfolds, but clearly it's generated significant public interest, also because of the fact that in recent days we learned about the arrest of private legal practitioner who's been a vociferous critic of the special prosecutor in his office, and I'm referring to lawyer Martin Kpebu. Now, this clearly didn't go down well with some Ghanaians on social media who went online and expressed their frustration with how the special prosecutor Kisi Ejaben has been conducting himself in office. Of course, he brought to the fore issues around their performance as a prosecutorial power over the years, and a lot of opinions have been shared as to whether they've been able to deliver on their mandate and what a lot of people are expecting of them. Particularly, the case that has generated significant public interest has got to do with the SML case. That's the Strategic Mobilization Limited, Resources Mobilization, Revenue Mobilization Limited case with the former Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta. And of course, it's got a lot of people talking as to whether the special prosecutor is really minded to do what's expected of him. So we'll see how this case, goes through in Parliament. The next step is to see whether the executive would themselves sponsor a bill to remove the office or would have to go through a private member's bill. And when that is done, I'm sure it will lay the foundation for this to take off. So we'll see, and we're following this very keenly as it unfolds. But let me just, of course, we know the World Cup draw for Ghana already, but there's an interesting feature on the back page of the Daily Graphic Weekend Special, how 2026 World Cup will become football's ambitious experiment. So if you're a lover of the beautiful game, you know what to do to get a feel of what this article is trying to portray. Now, let me take you to citynewsroomonline.com. Quite a number of stories on the Farmers' Day, but there's a Ghanaian company is scheduled to sign an oil exploration agreement with Guyana, and this company is Cybel Energy, right? So Ghanaian-owned firm Cybel Energy Limited is set to make a major stride on the international stage as it prepares to sign an agreement to explore for oil in the shallow water block in Guyana. The deal is expected to be concluded next Tuesday, November 9, was confirmed by Guyana's Minister for Natural Resources, Vikram Bharat, on Friday. The agreement will grant Sibeli Energy the rights to explore for hydrocarbons in Block S7, a concession covering an estimated 2,000 square kilometers offshore Guyana. So some great news coming there. Hopefully, we are able to reap the benefits of it. And we'll be following also that story very keenly. In the Volta region, 3 dead, 6 injured in Pando Aziave crash. Wow, unpleasant story coming in this morning. 3 dead, 6 injured in Pando Aziave crash. 3 people have died and 6 others sustained injuries in a head-on collision involving a Howo tipper truck and a Daewoo Matters on the Pando Aziave Road on December 3, 2025. One occupant escaped unharmed. The Ghana National Fire Service said it received a distress call at 2:28 on Friday, 5th December, prompting an immediate response from the Fuega Fire Station rescue team. By the time the personnel arrived, 6 injured victims had already been transported to the Margaret Marquardt Catholic Hospital. The tipper truck, which had 2 occupants, left the driver injured while the mates escaped unscathed. The Daewoo Matters carried 8 passengers. Wow, I'm wondering how a Matters can have 8 people in there. 5 sustained various injuries, while the driver and 2 others were trapped in the severely mangled vehicle. The Ghana National Fire Service rescue managed to extricate all 3, but the Matters driver died on the spot. The bodies of the other 2 later succumbed to injuries at the hospital. Of course, this brings to the fore again issues around the need, enhanced calls for safe driving as we approach the festive season. A lot of the time, because of the pressures to get to our destination very quickly, we are always in a haste, right? And sometimes we see how people drive rather carelessly and oftentimes recklessly on the roads, right? So we want to appeal, let's all be safe, let's all respect each other on the road. Let's go back to the basics of safe driving, and I'm sure we'll be better for it as the festive season approaches. So, guys, that's all time will allow us for our news review segment, where we brought you the big headline stories. If you want more, you could log on to www.citynewsroom.com to get the details of all the big stories I've brought to you. We'll take a quick break. When we are back, there's the What's Happening segment. This segment, we get to basically bring to you all the big events scheduled, for the week and beyond, especially as we approach the festive season. So you definitely don't want to miss out on it. My name is Jude Duncan. We'll be back after this break.